What is up? Welcome back to Embody Radio, where excellence isn't an accident, it's something you live. I'm your host, Emily Duncan. We are actually in a studio today, which feels exciting and necessary because I'm going to be so for real. The course of life events, the last couple of weeks, especially the last week, trying to do this without something on the schedule or on the calendar probably would not have happened. So I'm back with everybody's favorite guest today, my fiance, Chris. Chris, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, everyone. I think she says favorite just to make me feel good.
Oh, you're the favorite.
I need people to let me know,
you.
how do you guys like having me here? I need to know. I need you to tell me, because she tells me, and obviously she's gonna blow it up a little bit,
After the last one, somebody goes, "He has such an interesting brain," and I was like, "He does."
Interesting brains could be smooth, So I don't know. I need more.
I think that just means you have a good brain and you don't think like everybody else.
I'm kidding. Yeah, it's everyone else is stupid. No, but I do appreciate it. I love being here. Em and I, yap, talk, whatever, all the time. So having an opportunity to do it in a professional setting, feeling
Professional yapping.
Yeah, feeling like Black Huberman, Blooberman. That's what this feels good.
Happy Black History Month. We love that for you. We're gonna let Chris kind of intro the topic today, so take it away.
Yeah, no,
love of my life.
It'll be a fun one today. I get passionate about this topic. I'm big on just starting off with the word resilience, and resilience means a lot of things to a lot of people. So we'll set frameworks. You have a couple different categories. You have mental emotional resilience. You have physical resilience. Then you have even kind of like a digression or spinoff, like grit, and like what that looks like, and when to leverage, them, right? Because grit looks a lot different than being just generally resilient, right? I think people who live long, healthy lives are generally resilient people. They don't really need a break from being resilient. But then you have something like grit, where it's like, this is really, really hard, and I know it's unsustainable, but this is a time period. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and being able to go, yeah, today sucks. Tomorrow's going to be shittier. It's going to continue to suck, but I got to see this through because there's a softer time, on the other side. Not for me to rest forever, but for me to catch my breath before the next, grind period. So, talking about like how resilience is built, talking about maybe just the state of general resilience today that we see socially, whether it's in how we interact with one another or, we'll stay away from too much legality, but like laws and whatnot that get passed, new rules that we play by in society, rules in air quotes. And I think that resilience is a big, big player, and honestly, the lack thereof.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think part of why I wanted to talk about this today is it's really the perfect time, because right before recording this episode, first off, the start of the year for me personally has been, personally and professionally, just really hard. And just before recording this podcast, within the last 12 hours, are on top of everything else, broad sweeping gesture that's happened since the beginning of the year, our family dog, Logan, that we've had since I was 19 and I'm 30, finally passed away. And the last place I want to be right now is trying to do something professional, inspiring people, motivating them, giving them perspective, whatever. And kind of as I was reflecting on just my life and my journey, I think, especially the last few years, not that I'm a highlight reel person, but I choose not to share on the world stage, quote unquote, as many of the things that I go through and that I work through and continue to show up and do what I do. And that can come across as a highlight reel, or that there's nothing wrong. Or I'm sure there's people that look at me and think, yo, she has it all together. She just, never struggles or does these things, all the time and whatever. And as I've looked back, like, part of how I've done what I've done and have done anything that I'm even remotely proud of, I've done it through loss. I've done it through losing family members. I've done it through losing pets that mean so much to me. I've done it through chronic illness. I've done it through acute illness. I've done it through what feels like the world trying to tear me down, people saying this, that, and the other thing about me, and just continuing to show up and do the thing. And I think, and Chris has obviously done this in his own way as well, but I think that's almost a lost art. Like, we're in such a space where there's a lot of people, and I get it, like, heavy shit is happening all the time in our personal lives, in, like, the greater collective. Like, there is a new broad sweeping gesture event almost every single day or every single week, and that wears you down as a person, and I think we're slowly getting to a place culturally that kind of scares me, where people are approaching that point of giving up and quitting and giving in and stopping because not because they don't want the things that they want, but because exhaustion is the biggest killer of a dream and of potential. And it's like you can go for a certain amount of time, but I think for a lot of us, we get to a place where we're like, I've experienced this for too long and it's not, let up. And so I'm going to let up and I'm going to stop and I'm going to quit. But if you really want to build something that is worth it and that you're proud of, whether that's a body, whether that's a career, whether that's a business, whether that's a relationship, you need resilience. And if you don't have it, you're going to end up at the bottom and you're going to stay there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that your note about just honestly what you've been through. I think you and I have slightly differing opinions on what you should do with that. Well,
What's your opinion?
well, no, I mean, I told you before, and I know why, right? Um, it's no easy feat to find like hate pages like dedicated to you as a teenager. So that would naturally make someone kind of retreat inward, especially if you've been hit with um, new chapter bouts of that. But I guess I just look at it like no one who's ever talked bad about me has been better than me. Like Odell Beckham's not looking back at me like sucker, right? Like he's just minding his fucking business, right? It's the people who are envious of me or competing with me and possibly losing to me that have things to say. And I think as shitty as it is that people just want to bring you down, right? Um, there is a like for those if there's anyone out there who is either an anime lover themselves or you know a spouse or a partner to an anime lover, like a Toji smile, which you don't get that, but I'm deep in JJK right now, and like he just has this oh shit's about to get hard, like a smirk,
Mm.
try me, like come on. And I think that when you can find that place, and you don't have to be there all the time because it is exhausting, but when you can find that place and you can tap into that mode of like that actually doesn't hurt. It just makes me kind of laugh at you and laugh at life for thinking that you thought this would stop me from doing what I wanted to do. You thought this would change me and stop what I am doing, right? Because there are people out there who need your story, right? All of your story. And I'm never one to tell someone what to do with their story. I have many friends who have great, great stories, some tragic, some triumphant. And if I were to reduce my human interaction to, for a slight digression here, to like a very, very small singular thing, it's a story collector. Like I just love meeting people because I love collecting stories. I love hearing like, how'd you get here? You know? So I think that's the thing that brings us together. I think that's the, all alone together. Like we're all alone in our own main character versions of our stories, but only in sharing those stories do we get history, do we get lessons, do we get things to pass down, culture, et cetera. So I think when people stifle their story for fear of how it'll be received by bums, it makes me sad, but I get it. I get it because it's not my existence. So, I mean, that being said, you have just been through a lot, and I think that early on in our relationship, we talked a lot about that. And for a good bit, I would take a back seat because the exposure that you, have had to confront is very, very different than mine. And then I think one day we were talking, and like sometimes when you're in your head, you can get dismissive about the you don't get it, right? Because this you just haven't experienced this, so like easy for you to say. And I think the one day I did just say, I was like, no, like I mean, at like 6 years old, I was told by my parents like there will be people who don't like you just because of what you look like. That's just a thing. And they didn't say, shame on those people. Those people are so bad. We should fix the world. They said, and you're just going to have to be better. Like, she's like, it's getting, they would tell me like, hey, the world is better. It's getting better. And we're happy to see it getting better, right? I lived through the election of Barack Obama, right? But I've also driven by like burning crosses and Confederate flags in Ohio,
Mm.
right? So I've been called, like a nigger to my face as like an eighth grader, and so to have someone just go like, yeah, I don't care who you are. I just don't like you. Like there is like a decent level like baseline resilience that I believe that a lot of like Black and brown people and other minorities, like LGBT people, like you just have to build up, especially if you are experiencing that as a youth. Which is interesting because I would think that that resilience would carry forward. But honestly, what I think has happened, just kind of transitioning into what's going on today, is that people got tired of being resilient, and the people who grew tired of being resilient um, had children who, sorry, let me back up here. People were really resilient. They built a world that required less resilience. So then, when met with opportunities to build resilience, those people did not become more resilient. Instead, they pushed back. But because of the state of things, because we all have this platform where we can just say a thing, that person's sexist, that person's racist, that person made me feel uncomfortable. And I think it's because they don't like Black people. What? Right? And like being able to shape your world with words that are based on assumptions and feelings and da 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 da, well, then now you don't have to be resilient anymore because you can just remove the thing in your life that is causing you any level of discomfort or any level of like rethinking. And you end up with a place where we are today where like you can just say something an incorrect way, or better yet, just not a way that someone else wanted you to say it. And instead of it staying centered in the conversation around the productivity of the conversation, moving forward, getting better, understanding each other more, you will then get sidelined and crucified for how you said something because it made someone feel uncomfortable. Where I'm like, now you have people like me where like I will say things for effect. Like try to censor me. Like try to silence me.
Chris
Um
has requested more ops
yeah.
consistently for about 2 years, so, like, please do try.
I mean, it's just one of the it's comical, right? Because it's hilarious that we live in a place where we have stifled the ability for people to speak their minds so much that you know we don't have real conversations anymore. The people that have real thoughts aren't sharing them. Everything you hear is regurgitated, right? And that is a very, very sad place for me to live. And I do think a lot of it's just rooted in the fact that people have a generally low tolerance for things that make them uncomfortable
Mhm.
because they are just not resilient. So people like myself keep, certain things to myself or to my in group, the people that I believe are operating at that like higher rung intellectually, they are willing to hear things that might make that, ooh. And instead of they going, like, well, oh, why'd you say that to me? You hurt my feelings. They go, why did that hurt my feelings? Like,
Yeah.
is he trying to hurt me?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think one thing that I wanna rewind to, 'cause I've talked about it on another podcast, but I don't think it's ever been on this one. When you were talking about the one day, I vividly remember it. We were in our first apartment in Denver. You were at the sink. I was sitting at the island. I was crashing out, and I was in that space of like, "You don't get it. You don't get it. You don't get it." And I think the delivery of what you said was really important. You're like, "Emily, I am a Black man in America. I've been hated since the day I was born." And that just like it flipped a switch in my brain of, "Oh, girl, you need to get it together. You need to get it together because here's this person that you love so much that you're gonna spend your whole life with sitting across from you as you're fucking moping about people on the internet and how tough that's been, and you think that he doesn't get it just because he hasn't gotten it in the way that you've gotten it, but the way that he's gotten it is something that he could never change. I could change if I was on the internet. I could change. I couldn't change what has been done. I can't change what's been said. But like what I did in terms of posting on the internet, creating a platform, whatever, like I chose that. You didn't choose to be Black. You didn't choose to be Black in America at this time or at any time. Like you just were. And so to have somebody look me in the face and essentially check me and be like, yeah, I get that it's hard, but like not even you weren't even trying to say like it could be worse, but it just really clicked in me of like, "Oh, yeah, it can be bad sometimes, but it's not that bad. Like get up and keep going." And I think that is kind of the seed of resilience that that planted in me. And I think that's something that not a lot of people have, is somebody that can check them. Or even like, I think about every single person that I know. You said you love collecting stories. I always love hearing people's stories. That's why I'm a podcaster, is I'm like, I want to hear your story. And anytime, even I think of like our friend Josh, when I finally got to hear like his whole story. And Josh is an extremely successful businessman. He's done so much in his life, and he's just a fucking animal. And when he told me his whole story, I was just like, holy shit. There's so much resilience there, and so much that's happened to build you into who you are and to give you the skill set and the mindset to do what you're doing. And I don't know if enough people, like everybody, we think we're so alone, just like I did, in whatever we're experiencing or whatever we're going through. We think that we're on this island of, I'm the only person experiencing this or experiencing this at this degree, at this level. Everybody at the top, they just got it, and I don't. But if you talk to anybody that's above you and has done more than you, the stories they would tell you about what it took to get them there would blow your brain hole wide open, and you'd be like, "Oh, I'm so glad that I'm actually just dealing with what I'm dealing with right now, because it's not that, and I don't know if I could handle that." And I think people talk all the time about people in your life that are expanders, in the sense that they show you what is possible for you in your life, but I don't think we talk enough about the people that are expanders both in that way, but in the expanders of your perspective of, "Oh, not only are they showing me what's possible for me in my life, they're showing me maybe what the cost of entry is for that life, and the cost of entry to do those things and to be that person. And is that a cost that I am not only willing to pay, but excited to pay to get to that place?"
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that you bring up a really good point. And I think it's less, everyone has someone in their life that can. I think that, again, through um, changes in social structures and friendship structures and what people seek in friendships. Like, I think a lot of people, like, I guarantee that 99% of the people listening to this podcast right now have posted, shared, group chat, internet, whatever, something about like how committed they are to growing. But if you asked yourself, like, well, what does that commitment look like? You probably wouldn't have very like tangible things to say. And if we were to just take a second, here mid show and like dissect your life, and I was like, okay, tell me about your work. Are you satisfied? If no, why? What would make you feel more satisfied? What would make you feel more fulfilled, more accomplished? Tell me about your friends. What do you feel when you're with your friends? What do you guys talk about? Like, do they know where you're insecure and what you struggle with? Do you feel like they probe you? When's the last time you felt uncomfortable in a friendship conversation? Right? When's the last time you left a conversation with a friend and you felt like, fuck them, bro? Right? Like, yeah, and not even like you, because you can't be mad at them, right?
Mhm.
They just said something that made you go like, okay. And like, it's just not what you wanted to hear, right? Most people just seek comfort. And it is like a weird thing because I has just not been me. Like, I like feeling insecure on my friends. I like when someone says, hey man, there's a blind spot over here and it's gaping. Like, you gotta look over there, man. Like, you right now, you boo-hoo this, boo-hoo that. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, listen, look over here and observe what you have going on and use the frameworks that you have. And like, for me, like, I have a couple of frameworks, and the two that come to mind, I'm like, is it controllable? Yes, fix it. No, move the fuck on. Move on as fast as possible. Like, there's no reason in dwelling in it. Like, venting doesn't help. Dwelling in it doesn't help. Process it however you need to process it. You need to get it out. You need to write a short story. You need to write a letter and put it on a fucking airplane and burn it. Like, whatever you need to do it, but move on. You can't control it. Like, it is only now, it's no longer an obstacle. It's just a pit stop, and you're just hanging out there because you're not getting better there, right? And then the other framework that I would say is like, what's its time horizon, right? If it's temporary, grind it out, right? It's like that last rep, that last sprint, that last, hour of work. You can see the clock ticking. Like, you could cry about it, or you could just put your head down and get it done, because it's going to end. It's going to end. If it's not temporary, if this is, seemingly persistent, pause and retool. because you don't want to beat your head, into a wall that's never going to move, right? Grinding in that situation doesn't make any sense. Take a second, stop using an axe, go find a chainsaw, and then come back, right? So I do think that you do have to be deliberate in your grind, in your resilience. But I think it has to come from like an identity thing. Like, who do you want to be? Like, we all talk about your story, main characters, but you know what main characters they know what they're not? They're not victims.
Mm-hmm.
They're protagonists. Now, you can be Superman, you can be Deadpool, Wolverine, like you can be like the hero or an anti-hero. I consider myself more of an anti-hero. Like, I'm not here to turn the other cheek. I'm not here to let life give me my bruises and say that I just withstood. Nah, like I'm not only going to stand tall, but I'm going to get mine back. Like, every lick I get, I'm going to give it right back. But in a way that pushes me and those that I feel need to be uplifted and pushed forward, right? I think that bad people should be shamed and punished. I think that bad things should be torn down, right? You speak to, being Black and American. It's funny because like when white people say it, I always say, go, like this.
I
Like,
know.
but no, but the thing is, I get it though. I understand. And I think that the reason why I don't like it is I don't like it because there are a lot of people who look like me who use it as a reason to do nothing,
Mm.
right? Because they're like, well, there are people out there that don't like me. Yeah. There are people out there that don't like women. There are people out there that don't like men, that don't like Black people, whatever, right? Obviously, we have a very identifiable way to discern, like, that's the person I don't like. Like, you might, like, hate Jews, but, like, there are people who do not present Jewish, right? Or who don't present Italian or Irish or whatever, right? Even if you have a way. Black people, you can pick them out. So that's the one thing that makes us very, very different. It's like, okay, well, like, you can just see a Black person, and if you've decided a long time ago that you don't like them, you don't like them. But then you have to go, like, is that controllable? No. Move the fuck on then, bro. Right? So when people talk about being Black in America, I recognize, like, one, being Black in America is better today than it's ever been. So right there, I'm living in the best time that's ever happened to be Black in America. That's good. That's really, really good. I'd rather live today than 100 years ago, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm just, and so when you have those opportunities to just be real with yourself, like, yeah, I could be upset. Like, man, no one has to deal with being called this, right? Everyone knows what everyone's favorite slur on any video game channel is, and it is nigger. Like, and they don't even care who they're talking to. They don't care who they're speaking to. They just use it. They just say it. And you'd be like a little kid listening, like, how do they know? Right? Like, you would be like, but like they don't. They just say it because it's a fact, right? But when you realize that people just say things, people just think things, and people just do things, and most people are just NPCs, they're non-playable characters operating every single day, then you stop concerning yourself with how the world is working and decide, how do you want to make your world work? And that is where resilience comes. That is where grit and grind come. You start to say, hey, you know what? Who do I want to be? I'm sorry, like, no one cares to be Daphne or the damsel. Like, no one wants to be that.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's not who you want to be, then maybe re-examine your resilience framework, and learn how to just, like, nut up.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think another question to, like, come back to when you're sitting, because I think for a lot of people, they struggle with, even when you're saying, like, hey, if it's temporary, grind it out, grind it out, grind it out. Some people physically cannot get there. And so a question that I come back to is, like, what are you going to do about it? Like, this is what you're experiencing. Like, these are the cards. They're on the table, facing up. Like, you can see them right in front of you. You cannot change that hand. I think a big, like, resilience question for me is, like, what are you going to do about it? Like, with all the stuff that's even right now, like, been happening with family and work, and now the dog dying. Like, I've felt, oh my God, straw camel. I'm the camel, right? Like, this breaking point. Cool. And I'm like, okay, cry. And then what are you going to do about it? Like, and when I ask myself that question, I don't want to give the answer like, I'm going to do nothing. I'm just going to sit and sink in this. I'm going to just fall back. I'm going to go into my little hidey hole and whatever. And in a recent conversation that I had, that was honestly one of the most inspiring conversations I've had in a long time. She's gone through some of the most intense, repeated chronic illness I've ever heard of anybody go through. And something that we talked about was how people get stuck in their stories. And I think it's really important to be mindful of, is what you're going through right now. You gave the example of, like, the antagonist or the protagonist in any story. They're never the victim. So it's like, is what you're going through right now, are you going to let that be like the resolution of the story, or is that the introduction? Because every antagonist, every hero in every story goes through something that is literally part of the hero's journey. That's part of every single character arc that you see in anyone. That's part of why you like the story, is because they've gone through something. They've showed up. They didn't start as the hero. They became it. That's why it's the hero's journey, right? You don't start as the hero. You get the call, you do the thing, and then you wind up the quote unquote hero at the end. But it's like, if you are going through something right now and you are questioning yourself, and if you can do it and if you'll make it through it, what are you going to do about it? What point in the story is what you're going through right now? Because, like, you don't necessarily get to write all of the words in your story. Like, life happens, shit happens. But you do get to title the chapters, and you get to decide, like, what point in my story am I in? And I think that's a place that there might be a lot of people that want to push back on, of like, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. It's not that easy. It's not supposed to be. Like, I think we've forgotten with how just generally comfortable modern life is, that, like, life is a beautiful and precious thing, yes, but it's also a fucking brutal thing. And everybody's going to go through something brutal. Everybody's going to go through loss, at least one, probably quite a few that feel really big. Everybody's going to go through, if you are choosing the path of growth, a lot of challenges. And I think that's, another thing too. You mentioned people saying, like, yeah, I want to grow. I want to grow. I want to grow. Okay, you said you wanted to grow. You are being given a growth opportunity right now. It sounds, you're only ever thinking about the after of, like, I want to grow into this person, and you just see the, like, idealized version of you, that whether it's they have the money or they have the body or they have the cars or they have the house or they have the partner or they have the this, they have the status, the blah, 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 blah. There's something that you have to go through to get that. Otherwise you would have it. And that thing that you're going to have to go through, maybe sometimes it's easy and seamless, like my start on the internet. I was there, right place, right time, right effort. And so my start of my career, looking back, even comparatively to now, easy as fuck. I didn't start, minus, dumb people on the internet, whatever. But in terms of, like, actually building the thing, I'm so glad I built my business when I did versus trying to build it now, because I will be 100%. I feel like it's 20 times harder now than it was back then in its own ways, right? But I've had to go through things progressively harder. It's like how when you climb a mountain, the air gets thinner at the top. Like, the higher you want to go, the thinner the air is. So you essentially, metaphorically, literally, whatever, you got to train for that. It's not just going to be a cakewalk, especially not the whole time.
You looking at my notes over here?
No, I can't see them.
I'm start covering my stuff
literally
up, bro.
hiding them.
She starts saying the things that I'm like, chill out, bro. I'm like crossing stuff out.
Our brain routers are connected.
No, I had, like, grit is a muscle.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it is a muscle.
Have you read Grit by Angela Duckworth?
I'm not.
It's a good book.
Word. I'll read it. No, grit is a muscle. It's one of those things where if you've trained really hard or played a sport at a really high level, you know this. You know what it's like to sprint after years of not sprinting and feel those old, running suicides or gassers days, right? Where you're like, my body is the thing that's slowing me down. My body is the thing that's tired. And then you run a couple of them and then you're like, I cannot do another one. How'd I ever do 8 of these? How'd I ever do 10 of these? Because it's not so much conditioning. Your brain wants to quit. Your heart is not in it. You're like, I can't, right? Well, that's because you were, gradually, you progressively overloaded, right, into those spaces. But also every time you got to an opportunity, a growth opportunity in the gym, in sport, you were encouraged by your coach and your teammates to take it. And it showed you that you finished it and you didn't die.
Well, I think, pause real quick. I think sometimes, at least I'm reflecting on my own dance experience, and maybe this was because I was a kid and didn't have, like, the awareness of quote unquote choice or whatever, but, like, I was forced into it. And I'm sure you were, and, like, football and stuff too. It's like, you're going to keep running. Like, and if you don't, you're going to run more. And, like, you are forced into that versus, I guess maybe the point of me pointing that out is, like, now when people are trying to do it and navigate it on their own, nobody's forcing you to do it.
Well, that's why, like, one of my favorite, because I'm not a conspiracy theory person, but one of my favorite conspiracy theories is that, like, what if this soft girl era, this gentle period, this emotional awakening, what if...
Awakening?
I'm just saying. No, I said...
I know, but it's just fun.
I'm saying awakening on purpose there.
That was good wordplay.
I'm purposely using that there. Was actually a ploy by one side or the other. Obviously, the people who believe in like some sort of like cabal that controls the world, the Illuminati or whatever, maybe it's by them to make everyone a bit more content in their lives and to stop striving, do not want, do not reach, do not covet, you know? Um, I think that that would be insidious, but obviously not likely at all. In my opinion, I think the more likely thing, and this is probably passive because people who are like this in my mind live passively, they do not live actively. They got tired of looking around and seeing everyone else doing better than them in a world that may be played by rules that they didn't like. You know what would be really easy for me? You know, if all my friends are fucking grinding, you know, he's got a Bentley, he's over there building a house, he's getting married, and I'm like working at McDonald's. Guys, man, you work too hard. Relax, take it in, be easy. And I might not know it consciously, but maybe subconsciously, I'm really uncomfortable. And them backing off, them easing up, you know, maybe even pushing the gas or pushing the brakes a little bit would make me more comfortable to be around them. And I think that's probably more of at least what happens at some level. I think that's why it's crept up to the highest levels of academia and, you know, psychiatry and whatnot, where it's like you now have professionals essentially encouraging people to be soft, right? And I don't think that that's a bad thing, so to speak, but it's not so much a permanent place. I think that being able to take an opportunity to take inventory and stock of what you've been through, what you've accomplished, what you've triumphed over, what frameworks and tools you were able to forge in those periods to carry on and do more hard things, right? To not exist in this like continuous shame cycle. And I think that's all good stuff. It's all good stuff. But like, I'm not gonna lie, guys, like just speaking very, very like pointedly, suicide numbers haven't gone down, right? So like we can live in a world where men are men, adults are adults, people are mature and we handle good conversations. And some people can't take it and they decide to opt out. Or we can live in a place where people are really soft and we argue and we bicker over little things and how this was said and how that made me feel and he didn't validate my feelings and blah, 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 blah. And we get nothing solved, nothing done. And people still opt out at the same rate, right? Like we can decide what place we want to live in. I would rather live in the former. I would rather live in a place where people were mature and we came into things intentionally and we wanted to have real conversations, wanted to understand each other. We wanted to understand that we're not going to agree on everything, that your story, you know, to your point earlier about feeling alone, you are alone. That's why I love the thing that I coined up a collection of writings and I titled it All Alone Together. All alone, comma, together. You are all alone. You are born alone. You will die alone. You get to live in parallel with the people that happen to orbit you perfectly at the right time. Partners, friends, etc. But you will die alone and your story is yours alone. No one can hop into your soul, hop into your brain and, you know, feel and see the way that you feel. You are alone in that. But we are all alone together. And I think that's where you kind of like anchored and saying like, hey, like I'm not the only one experiencing something like this.
Yeah, adjacent.
Right. You know, LeBron, KD, me, this other girl on social media, Chris, whomever else, like everyone's experiencing something, right? And they all have their points, right? Like I've seen LeBron take less of that like whatever, like stance, right? And now I'll be a bit more like pointed where like someone will say something, he'll go at him, right? You know, Kevin Durant, he's had his burner account forever, right? You know, and they just released the files on that one. I'm really, really enjoying that, right? So like everyone has their own way of processing just the noise. But you have to process it. You can't just complain about it and then use it as a reason to do nothing. I think that you mentioned something just pivoting a little bit about they didn't start as the hero. No, they did. They did because most heroes never saw themselves as a victim. The world saw them as a victim. The world saw Bruce Wayne, the orphan, right? But Bruce just lost his parents. He was just sad. He was fucking sad. And then he went out and he did something about it. He went out and he became the thing that he believed the people like his family and others needed to keep them protected from the bullshit in the world, right? He took on the more scars. The kid that was most scarred in the city took on more scars. Superman was sent from a planet that was home. It was blown up. He had no one with him, sent to a place where no one was like him, right? Not just an orphan. You were alien orphan.
A freaking orphan.
Right? You're an alien orphan, right?
With no belly button.
And they had their trials and tribulations, but they just didn't sink into that victimhood. The world saw them and tried to coddle them and go, well, they must feel, they must feel, they must feel, but they didn't let those thoughts permeate and stay.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the thing that separates people who really want growth, right? Because it's very easy for someone to go, man, Sarah, you just work so hard. Like, you're such a good mom. And like, Jack's a good husband and all, but like, you definitely carry the load around here and da 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 da. And you, as Sarah, are like, you've maybe just been existing. You maybe just been doing your thing. Like, I'm good. But all of a sudden, this person's put it into your head that maybe you should be more tired than you are, that maybe you're not getting enough help. And all of a sudden, you're like, yeah, like, fuck Jack. Like, this is not fun anymore, right? And I just think that that's dangerous, like allowing another person's projected victimhood onto you, right? Chris, man, being Black in America, yeah, appreciate it, right? I'm not going to let that seep into me and control how I operate in America. And I don't think that most people want to have those honest conversations that, like, they're not honest with themselves. Like, that is the honest conversation. Like you mentioned before I pivot back and give it back to you, some people physically just can't endure lies. Tell
They've
me that.
told themselves that. Yeah.
Tell me that when you pass out.
Yeah.
Tell me that when you've pushed yourself so close to the edge that you border sanity. Tell me that when you've
actually crossed it.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's value in that. Like, and this is going to sound maybe a little unhinged, but I see so many people, and I have like something after this, but I see so many people start to feel that edge. And they're like, okay, I need to stop before I go over it. And I think, with whether that's burnout, whether that's one thing, the other thing, whatever. And as I've grown, do I try to avoid burnout as much as I can? Absolutely, 100% yes. But I do think there is something to be said for having enough self-trust to go over that edge, to push yourself past, to be at the point where you actually do pass out and then you wake up. Because you're never going to actually know your limit until you reach it, right? Like, you have no concept of failure, true concept of failure, accurate concept of failure if you've never failed. Did I just steal another one of you? I just stole another one of those things.
I'm going to plug failure frames framework. It's my favorite things.
Fantastic. We'll come back to that. But like, and again, this is going to sound fucking insane and people are going to be like, that's so unhealthy of you to say that. But like, even if we're just framing it from a burnout perspective, I wouldn't have the context that I have on approaching burnout had I never gone past it, had I never actually reached it and like gone over that edge. Because now, at the ripe old age of 30 something, I have a much more like finely tuned, still needs a lot of work, but finely tuned kind of like symptom radar of like, oh, this is when you're 50% of the way there. This is when you're 70. This is when you're 90, 95, and you got to be really fucking careful. And something that I see happening a lot now, especially with like the younger generation, is people will be like 25 and they'll be going through something tough and they'll, be trying to like do something or build something. And maybe they're at like 70, 80%. And somebody, whether it's themselves, whether it's somebody else, whether it's the internet, they just say, you just need to go on sabbatical. You need to just go to fucking Thailand and find yourself for a few months. And they expect, they do the spiritual thing where it's like, if it's for me, it'll just be there when I come back. And that's not how life works. Like, if you, for example, like if I at, let's say 22 was like, I need to take 6 months off of my business and I'm just going to assume it'll be there when I come back, I would not have what I had today. Because there's a good chance that, especially the pace that the world is going, the amount of competition we have in anything that we're trying to do, it will not just be there when you come back because somebody else is going to have taken your spot. So do I believe in taking breathers and taking breaks? Yes. But if you expect to just throw the thing away and to do nothing progressive at all for months at a time, and you just expect that thing to be there and to be easy to grow again or to do again when you come back, I think that's really arrogant. And if it is easy when you come back, congratulations. You are the exception to the rule. But like telling these young people that like, yeah, you just need to go find yourself. And you need to just go do this and do that. Like if you are actively in the pursuit of something, I don't know if that's the right answer. It doesn't feel like the right answer to me.
Yeah, I would agree that is not the right answer pending, right? I do believe you can sow so healthily into your future by grinding so hard today that you earn yourself longer sabbaticals or breathers, right? And the more intentional you are in sowing into future you and future things that you want, right? If you were say, you know what, I'm going to work the next 365 days for, 12 plus hours a day, nonstop, with the intention of taking 6 months after that off, knowing that not only will I have made enough money to take care of me for that full 6 months, but I'll have made enough money to put into the future profits and things so that when I come back in that July, right, of the next year, um, I'm not starting from where I'm starting from today,
Mhm.
right? But I've kept that momentum, right? I've like pushed the ball so hard that when I come back, it's still rolling.
Mhm.
Like you don't want to show up and the ball stopped rolling. I have to like start pushing it again, right? But you want to get so much momentum that you can just run down to the other edge and wait for the ball to get there. And now you get some rest. Like,
Mhm.
great, when the ball gets here, I'll just keep it going, right? And I think that people kind of miss that because I don't want to tell someone like if you want to take a break or you want to detach for a second. Mostly,
I think that's key for a second,
yeah. Well,
you
I think
know?
I think the second could be as long as they want, as long as their framework is prepared appropriately, right? If you are a young 22, 23, 24-year-old and maybe you don't know what you want out of life at all, but maybe you've just been grinding as a fucking server for the last like 4 or 5 years, since you were in college, if you did college or whatever, and you just banked. You just banked
Mhm.
like fucking like 100 grand,
Mhm.
right? You've been living at home, saving a bunch of money. You've been driving a beater car. You just banked a bunch of fucking money. You know what, bro? Take 10K and go to fucking Bali.
Mhm.
Go do your thing,
Mhm.
right? Because when you come back after you feel like
You
Steve
got
Jobs,
90K.
right, right. Well, Steve Jobs did this, right? Steve
Yeah.
Jobs, like he took off, right? But Steve Jobs is by far like he's not an easygoing guy or was not an easygoing guy. Like he wasn't a like take it easy, kind of guy,
Mhm.
right? He was searching for something. He was in pursuit of something. He needed to know what was on the other side of the things that like haunted him at night, the things that made him feel like I have to get up and go. I'm supposed to be something,
Mhm.
right? He was searching for something. He wasn't just tired. I'm
Mhm.
gonna go, do whatever, right? So if your sabbaticals are intentional, whether that's intentional in rest or intentional in search, I think that's good, right? As long as, again, like you said, you don't have the arrogance to come back to life and think like, if I didn't sow into this returning version of me, then I'm going to be starting from ground zero, if not ground sub zero, right? A basement level. And I have to not only, try to get what I had back, but I have to rebuild the foundation of which I started to push from where I was. For you, I think that a cool analogy for me is like think about singing,
Mhm.
right? There are parts in songs where you can rest. And I think the fun part for me, like I grew up with rap, right? And you would have those rappers that seemed like they had like pipes, right?
Mhm.
They would just go. And you're just like, where's he finding it, right? And then you would just like assume that it's a studio, right? So they have opportunity to cut, record it, and then you watch them do it live. You're like, okay. And then you see the delivery, right? Because they know I'm not satiated. My brain still needs more oxygen, right? I need a deeper breath than that. But this verse ends, right? I'm going to end. And in that ending period, I get to take deep breaths. I get to slow down for a second, like get my heart rate to lower a little bit.
Mhm.
And I think if you could look at life in those bouts, it would be a bit easier. But what we have now is most people are laying flat on a ground, staring at a purely Windexed glass ceiling, saying, yeah, I can't get through that. You don't even know how far away it is.
Mhm.
It's really hard to tell like how high a ceiling is if it's glass and you're just laying on the ground because it's just too hard to reach.
Mhm. Well, you don't know how much resilience you have until you train it. Like, even using the singing analogy, like, spending enough time developing the skill of singing, you start to learn, "Okay, here's when I can take a full breath, and here, maybe I can't, but here's the exact type of breath I need to take to deliver this next phrase or until I can get to a full breath the way that it needs to be delivered. So even if I can't get a full one, I can do what I need to do."
Yep.
And in that book that I mentioned, Grit by Angela Duckworth, I'm pretty sure the finish term is sisu, which means stick-with-itness. And that's like a core element of developing grit. And if you're just that person that's sitting on the ground and like staring up at the glass ceiling and you're like, of course I can never get there, it's too far away. Like developing like that stick-with-itness kind of quality only comes when you get up off the ground and you do something and you try something. And so like even just for me, like reflecting on whether it's times when I've been like chronically ill or somebody has died or this, that, like it's this weird part of my brain. Like even yesterday, you were like, give your brain a break. And I was like, I have stuff that I need to do. Like those moments where it's like, I don't want to do anything. And even for me, like knowing, you know, hey, I would rather spend this time resting and get this thing done now because God knows how I'm going to feel tomorrow. Like, am I going to feel more grief tomorrow? Am I going to feel better tomorrow? Is it going to come in more chaotic waves? Is something else going to hit my desk like it has the last few weeks where it's like, fuck, I got to go take care of this now. So that like stick with itness of like, just do something, even if it's the smallest something, if it's a medium something, if it's a big something, like concept of friction or physics or whatever the fuck, like it's always harder to get an object rolling than it is to keep it rolling. So it's like, okay, if I can just keep, like you said before, if I can set myself up in a way that even if the ball slows down, it never stops rolling, I'll be better off. Future me will have maybe a second to breathe that they didn't have before, that they needed. And maybe it'll help me cultivate a better version of me than if I just sat and did nothing. Because I also too, like there are times when I'm so just down and out that I sit and do nothing for a little bit, but like that never makes me feel better. I always feel better if I'm like, okay, I did one thing that will make tomorrow a little bit easier for me, because I don't know what tomorrow is. It could bring me something that I could definitely not handle if I had that other thing. And like that's been an iterative process, and you've helped me a lot with that, even just from like my own time management. But in terms of like my mental management and my effort management, it's like, okay, is there something that I can do to essentially keep me in the game, keep the ball moving, even if it's slower? And I think that's been a big aspect for me too, because I think so many people think like, oh, I have to do 100% effort perfectly all the time. And it's like, no, you fucking don't.
Yeah.
No, you fucking don't. Sometimes 50% might not be quote unquote good enough. It might not be what you want, but it's like building the skill of you continuing to show up in whatever hard thing you're showing up in.
Yeah. And took a pause. For those listening, I'm sure that they're like, wait a second. Like, she's like, well, she keeps going. And he's like, well, he's from this grit period, but he's telling her to take a break. And that might sound conflicting. And I do think that it comes back to like intention. And I would even push back, because I think there's multiple ways to do this, and there's no right way to do this. One. Two, it's all about what frameworks you've established for yourself. And so one of the like cliche things that always stuck out to me is stick to the plan, not your mood. Right. And so if I feel mentally zapped, and I'm mentally and emotionally zapped, if I stare at a screen, I might break it. Today's probably a good day to rest my brain. But I'm not, okay, well, I'm going to go to the gym and hang out with some people. Or, okay, I'm going to doom scroll. I'm like, no, I'm going to read. I'm maybe going to turn some anime on. I'm going to get cozy in the bed. I'm going to make sure that I eat decent food. I get to bed on time. I'm going to be just as intentional in that rest, because you're right. I don't know what's coming tomorrow, but I'll be equipped for it. And not just for the thing that I'm letting slip today, but for anything, right? So that comes to me like with the knowing when to retool.
I will say you're a lot better at intentional rest than I am. I have like a weird motor that is probably my anxiety, that like Chris can take a nap. I cannot. Like Chris can just do the thing where he shuts the computer off, goes and takes a nap, watches his anime, gets some food, whatever. That is actually something that I would like to be able to cultivate. That has just felt impossible for me. So like just personal accountability moment. Like you're a lot better at the rest thing than I am. And I would probably be better off if I was better at that. But you're just really good at it.
I mean, I think that it's not an intuitive thing. It is a practice thing, because I just have operated in different places where getting as close to redlining was optimal. That's what you had to do. Like you had to be in that intensity, in that go, and anything lower than that, allowing your heart rate to slow down, so to speak, to keep that same metaphor, actually was a detriment, right? And something like medical sales, I needed to be alert. I needed to be go, 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 go. Because the minute that I said, something bad happened.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I wasn't paying attention. The, tech hands the wrong tool to the surgeon. You're not in the right place. You don't restock a trach part. Like something happens when you let yourself calm down to that, more just like chill, space, right?
Mm-hmm.
So being on was purposeful, but being on so much so that you were just short of being so on that you short circuit,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what I see for you often, and that's even why I like messages like the screen time stuff and like obviously the time study stuff, because I see how much you work, but much is more in a frequency than it is in volume, right? So you will just work all day. And I'm like, I don't want to see a screen after 6, after 5, right? But you'll still be answering DMs and stuff like that. But in between your DM answering, you're scrolling,
Mm-hmm.
right? So your work is a heavy mix of play, whereas my work is typically only work. And so I'm just going to lock myself in my fucking dungeon and I'm not going to come out. Like you have to knock on the door, like, did you eat your greens today?
Mm-hmm.
Like stuff like that, right?
He just started this week for everyone at home.
I've gotten really, really just sharp at being able to go, no, like I did not see that reel you sent me. No, I did not see your text. No, I have not looked at that email yet because I came in here with a plan and I'm
Mhm.
executing and I'm not going to change until I'm done with that. Now, obviously I'm not perfect. I waver and I have days. And when I do have days where my life is a bit more like yours and like probably other people where work and play and rest is all kind of drift into one another, I get really, really frustrated with myself. Like it's actually a really, really like unshakable like disgust with how I'm existing because I'm like, this is not optimal. This is just not. This is not where I should be. This is not how this should be going, and I'm actually making my life worse. I know I'm worse because I'm operating at a low threshold today, but I'm not resting, which means that tomorrow I will be at the same low threshold. I will be less equipped to do all the things that are spilling over due to my lack of direction today. And if anything new comes tomorrow, I definitely won't have enough because I'm not intentional in my rest today. So now what am I doing? What game am I playing? I'm just operating in this like
Yeah.
circuitous like limbo of like low brain activity and ops where I could just go, you know what? Live to fight another day.
Mhm.
Put it down today. Tomorrow's going to be hard. So equip yourself.
Mhm. Yeah. I think something that's like semi-adjacent that you've really been like directly and indirectly encouraging me with lately, because like we talked about on the last one, we're like bringing you in, to do ops and managerial and systems type stuff within the business. And it might sound counterintuitive to this whole conversation where we're like, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going, is the need for slowness. And I think if I were to like contrast maybe your experience in med sales where you're like, I have to be fast, I have to be fast, I have to be fast. Entrepreneurship, I'm learning more and more every day, especially having you in and helping me with things of like sometimes slowness is the best move because if I try and do something and solve a problem immediately, I might not solve it the way that it actually needed to be solved. And I was just trying to solve it to get it done versus solving it in the way that is the true best path forward. And I think like what I'm kind of learning from that is like the resilience of slowness. Cause of course my monkey brain wants that problem like hits my desk and I'm like, fuck, 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 like, gotta fix this now. But the smart brain, the strategic brain that you have and the forward moving brain, sometimes something needs to be looked at, taken a step back from, breathed about, taken a walk about, given some second thought about before trying to fix it and before trying to solve it so that it's I think if I'm to come to one of your favorite things, alliteration, like reactivity is not resilience. It's just you trying to make the problem go away versus trying to actually solve the problem. So there's also like a level of resilience in taking things at pace and not just trying to fix it because you're trying to make it go away as quickly as you can.
Yeah. I think that's an excellent point. So I want to append like an addendum here to what I just said before you said that because I don't disagree. And I think that even if I think about med sales, there was slowness and there was stillness, but the stillness was urgent,
Yeah.
right? It was intentional, right? If a surgeon is struggling to reduce a hip or a knee or whatever, me in the OR going, is actually going to frustrate the
Yeah,
fuck
it's
out of
gonna
them,
be very
right?
bad.
I have to be able to take a second and go, I'm only going to speak if I can assist him in properly reducing this more efficiently.
Mhm.
So let me take a second and see what's happening. Okay. If we rotate here, bit more traction there. Okay, internally rotate there. Bam, there we go. Right. But me going, so yeah, I can see it. It's just noise now. Right. And I think that to your monkey brains point, I think that people like that. It's a lot of their brain activity is noise, in my opinion. Like it's just noise. And it's not so much that it's all even meaningless noise. It's the fact that because they are more so reacting to the world around them and they are just taking whatever bite or chunk from whatever, divergent department of their life things are coming from, um, they cannot focus on anything and get any one thing done. And so they just have to exist in this place of like myriad problem solving all in simultaneum where like that is like you cannot be your best.
Mhm.
Right. And so being able to say, I'm actually not responding to DMs right now and not having a meltdown because someone is waiting your DMs for like 40 minutes, 60 minutes, whatever, right? Because you understand the urgency. Like, I need to make a sale now. I need to push this one into a call now.
I could change somebody's life now.
Correct. Right.
Like-
right. And I think that that's a really, really good just importance and urgency there.
Mhm.
But I think you have to be able to also say, wait a second, if the business is melting right now, if one of my coaches is eroding, what's it do if I keep shoving clients and money into the business if the culture and the system cannot sustain it?
Mhm.
And there, I think, is a very clear hierarchy of importance. It's like, well, then this does need to take a backseat, even if just for an hour, for 2 hours. I will come back to this. And then you know what? If you get to a point where you're like, there's just too much activity over here, I cannot let this slip, you delegate,
Mhm.
right? And then being able to say, okay, well, sweet. Like, I need to make sure that I take my eyes off of this, but it still keeps rolling.
Mhm.
So I need someone to come in and take that place, right?
Can I pause you for a
Yeah,
question?
yeah.
How would you advise developing the discernment from a resilience perspective of like the keep plodding on, like the intensity, like the constant movement, that like just keep going,
Mhm.
and like the acknowledgement of within resilience taking space or slowing down, and like how to essentially like phase shift
Mhm.
and know which one is needed
Yeah.
at any given time.
Yeah. I'll try to say this concisely and elegantly. Before that, actually, I think it'll be a good 30-second framing. Whenever I gamble, I already know what I'm willing to lose, right? $100, pulling it out. Once I make 100 on this 100, I'm putting the 100 I pulled out back in my pocket. I'm not going to touch that. I'm playing with house money. And then each iteration, I make a new pact with myself of like, this is when you pull out. This is when you keep pushing. I think that same thing has to happen in life. You have to know at what efficacy scale, like, or what point in efficacy scale you want to downshift and delegate or downshift and rest, right? So if per unit, let's just like break things down to an elementary level, which obviously this is a vacuum. If per unit of time, an hour, if my optimal is, 13 check-ins. All right, cool.
Impressive.
Right. Let's just say that it is, right? It's 13 check-ins. Right. Okay, well, what if in hour 2 I only get 12? That's still pretty good, right? What if in hour 3 I only get 10? Still pretty good. If in hour 4 I get 3? It's time to turn it off, Chris. It's time to turn it off. Like, your rate of return for time spent is far too low, which means that you could plot on 3, 4, 1.
But to what end?
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And then do you get an opportunity for reprieve to take on the next 50 the next day, right? Or whatever that happens to look like, right? So I think that you have to have that kind of predeterminism in your decision making, but it actually only happens if you live intentionally,
Mhm.
right? Which is why like things like screen time really, really important. Things like timesheets really important, and it's not just with work. You can do that with your life. right? I love the Opal app because the Opal app will literally tell you, hey man, you're down an hour per day. You just gained back like a fucking year of your life. It's like, yo,
It's like, I don't like it when you say it like
I'm like,
that,
that's
but
kind
I
of
feel a little
dope.
better now.
Right? I think that kind of stuff, it's good. It's good data to have. Obviously, it's like big shock and all, but it also, there's a bit of a dopamine hit in that.
Mm.
Like, you don't even know.
You're regaining your
Yeah, you're like,
dopamine.
I don't even know what kind of time I just gained back, but I just gained back some time by being a bit more intentional. And I don't think I've lost anything.
Mhm.
I don't feel less satisfied. I don't feel less happy in my life. I wasn't restrictive in a way that resulted in me living a lesser existence. And I just got something for that. And that is good. And so I just would encourage everyone, like whatever it is, relationship, work, family, own personal growth, like even in your personal growth, like you will feel, especially as you get like traction, you're learning things about yourself. And you're like, oh, that's why. Oh my God. It's like very, very easy to sink yourself into a hole of like, what's the next, shadow I want to tackle within
Mhm.
myself,
The
right? And you just fall in love with that cycle, right?
Mhm.
But like eventually it erodes at you. Eventually you need to go, you know what? I'm actually a good person.
Mhm.
Like I'm not so broken, you know?
Or I need to go out and enjoy the work that I've done and see it in practice and see it in
Yes.
action, and I think that's actually, like, a good reminder as we kinda come to the top of the hour is I know we've had, like, an intense conversation. We've talked about the intensity of resilience a lot, but, like, the whole point of cultivating it is so that you can live a better life, and, like, a better life that's a happier one, that is a fuller one, that is one where you can look back and be like, "I'm proud of the person I became, and, like, I'm actually enjoying myself." So it's not just like, "Blah, blah, 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 just work, 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 work." It's like, no, like, you these things, like, should be bringing you some level of, like, joy and satisfaction and, like, feeling of accomplishment in yourself. So, like I said, as we are winding down, what do you think are whether it's 3 to 5 skill sets, mindsets, qualities, traits, thoughts, whatever, that somebody that's looking to develop more resilience should focus on?
This one's more societal and it's definitely more I don't know if you guys have seen the mentality page. It's an Instagram page and it's all like wolves and mentality like athletes and stuff like that. Like it's like
Wait,
that.
like the apparel?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So like their whole account is all about like just self-betterment, but through the shadows, right? Like it very much speaks to like men.
Walk through the valley of the shadow of death.
Yeah, like oh yeah, literally like the masculine stuff. You think darkness is your ally, that kind of shit, right? Um, I had the shirt and essentially it ends like even heaven demands death, right? Like you can get nothing without sacrifice. And so with that, something that was said a long, long time ago, and I cannot tell you by whom, and I will probably use the incorrect words, but it goes something like easy times create soft men,
Mhm,
right? Hard times create hard men.
mhm,
Hard men create easy times.
mhm, that cycle.
Right. And I think that that is not only happening in society, it happens within you, right? Like the more stoic, resilient version of yourself will create an easier life. And it'll be very, very easy for you to get accustomed to that life. I've done it. I've been in that cycle where it's like, man, like it's kind of nice to
I'm
rest.
chilling,
This is dope. But you find it's really, really hard to like look back on yourself and go, how the fuck did I do that?
Mhm,
Right. And like it's almost daunting to try to measure up to old version of you
yeah.
until you just put one foot in front of the other. And I think that what you want to do is you want to shrink the highs and lows of that parabola, right? That slope up and down,
Mhm,
because you don't want to go from being so on to so off. You'd like to be, I'm pretty on, and then I'm resting, and I'm pretty on, and then I'm resting. And the more tight you make that line, the more you start to get to that just like straight line across. I think the more sustainable everything in life gets, or then you just have these like minor dips. This is a sprint period. That's a grind period. This is a rest period. This was a sabbatical. Me and the lady went to Greece. Me and the lady did this. Me and the
we
kids
sure
did that.
did.
Right. Like those are the things that, or that's the framework I think that kind of starts all of this.
Mhm,
Um, I think that it's important, just shifting to the second of the third that I have here, is to be intentional in your rest, like I mentioned earlier, like
mhm.
just as urgent in your rest and your soft periods. Why do we avoid burnout? Most people can't tell you why, right? Most people, well, you don't want to burn out. Why? We forgot that we don't want to burn out because we want to keep going.
Ooh, bar.
Right? Because
Bar.
that's it. Like, we want to keep going. You know, the reason why you don't want a car to burn out is because then you have to get new fucking tires. You don't want to do that. That pit stop's that you want to keep going. You want to stay on the fucking track. So you let up off the gas a little bit so you can stay on the track. It's not so you can stop, so you can quit, so you can live this lush, luxurious, easy life. It's so you can keep fucking going after whatever it is you're going after. You like that? You like that?
The show clip right there.
And lastly, you said something earlier, and it's funny because this is a thing that I've been met with, especially in partnerships, romantic partnerships, or close friendships before they became what I would feel real friendships, right? People who thought they were close to me until I challenged them in a way, and then they always hit you with that, well, it's not that easy. And I'm like, one, what a defeatist response, right? Well, I can't do it. It's so easy. Boo fucking who, first of all. Second of all, I'm not explaining it as if it's easy. I'm only explaining it simply because it is. It is simple. I didn't say it was easy. You either decide to keep moving or you decide to quit. You don't know where your limits are because you are too afraid to test them. Right? Got a lot of people out there that probably work out. When's the last time you almost fainted? When's the last time you pissed yourself during a set? I've done both. You know what? I only did them once. Because I found out where framework or my failure was, right? I found out where that point of yo, don't want to go there.
That's it.
Right? But you have to be daring, right? You have to live daringly. You have to want to, you know what? Let me see what I'm actually capable of. Yeah, this is hard. Great. You know what happens when you get into hard periods? Adaptation, right? When you push beyond hard, because hard is technically still in your scale of doable, right? You have easy, you have hard. What's on the other side of hard? Adaptation and pushing out the end of that spectrum of what is hard for future you. But if you stop at hard, you stay within your current, abilities. You don't ever expand those. You have to see what is beyond hard. Let me know when hard starts to border death. Then you will understand what you're really capable of. And that doesn't mean you have to hang out there. It just means that all of a sudden you were down here thinking, this is where I want to live because this is the only thing that's sustainable. When you found out that actually this is sustainable, this is where I can live because that's death. I thought it was here. It's actually way over there. And that's really good to know.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are good. Those are fire. I would say one for me is having as much as anyone can in their present state, but a deep understanding of what you want, not just from your life, but from yourself. This plagues me, but I always have this deep understanding that I want to meet my edges. I want to know what those are. I want to know what I'm capable of. I want to meet that. Stove, I could see it's red. I got to touch it kind of thing for better, for worse. But I just know about myself that I will never be satisfied if I just sit back. And so even if I have a moment or a day where I do, I know that what I want, not just from life, but from myself, is to be somebody that leaned forward and moved forward. So having that clear understanding of, am I somebody that really, and this is a hard question because everybody, of course, wants to say yes, because it sounds like the virtuous or the inspiring thing to do, but just having that awareness of am I somebody that wants to confront every demon that I could possibly want to confront in this lifetime? The answer is yes. Resilience is the only option. So, okay, I got to reverse engineer. Let me build that. I think another one is intentionally choosing to do hard things. So that way, when life throws you something hard that was not intentional, you have a more well-developed skill set, even if it's not fully developed, because you're always going to be hit with things that you don't know how to handle. But even something as simple as training, the mindset and metaphoric carryovers of training are one of my favorite things about it. It's okay, cool. I went into the gym, on this day and did this thing that I didn't know I could do, and it was really fucking hard, and I did it. I might not be able to face the hard thing in my life. I don't know. But if I can take that mindset of, well, I did this hard thing on purpose. So like maybe I can try and do this thing that was not brought into my life on purpose. I think choosing hard things on purpose. So that way, again, when life gives you hard things that you did not choose, you can at least face them with, standing a little taller, a little more confidence, a little more like, hey, I've been somewhere similar before. Let me try and walk through the shadow of valley death, whatever. You can do that a little more. And then this has been one of the biggest lessons of my life, just like the people I choose in general. But if you are somebody that has a really big vision for your life and really big dreams and really big goals, do not choose the 24/7 cheerleader people, and definitely don't choose the just take a break people. Choose the people that see your heart and that see who you are as a person, because they will see the version of you that wants so much more, and they honor that and they recognize that. And so if you're going to them, for example, you're the best example of this for me. You can sit with me in a hard minute and be like, "Yeah, this is really hard." And I'll sit with you in it. And also, at some point we're going to have to get back up because that is what you want. And I'm going to hold you to that versus the person that's just, you should take a break. You should relax. You're working too hard. You're doing too much. Or the person that's just purely like, hey, girl, you got this. Like, that's equally unhelpful. So choosing people very intentionally that know who you want to be and vice versa. You know who they want to be, kind of like you were talking about at the beginning. So you can actually have a full-bodied, cabinet of people in your life that not only want you to succeed, but are also going to be able to give you better advice and better perspective when you're in one of those down moments so you don't just stay down.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'll end with just capping off exactly what you said. It just made me think of, and I'm watching this anime, and I took a spin on something one of the guys said. When you're choosing your people, you have to know what they're built like, right? And he said, and I'm going to paraphrase it to make it a bit more applicable to what we have going on here. People who have limited or scarce paths to success will take cheap victories, and they'll also project them onto you, right? Because they don't want to do the hard thing or overcome the hard thing to get what they really want. So they'll take the breadcrumbs and they'll take them because they're easier. And that is a problem to have in your life. And so you want to eradicate that as quickly as possible and intentionally choose your people, and intentionally choose the version of you that you want to be.
Mm-hmm. Well, this was a good one. Turned out good.
It did turn out good.
Turned out pretty nice.
Turned out very, very good. Very, very fun. I'm really excited for people to hear this. This will be good.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. As always, if you enjoyed the show, share it on Instagram. Tag me, tag Buddy Radio, tag Chris. He needs people to tell him that he likes this and that you like what he says and not just tell me. But truly, thank you guys so much for listening. We hope it helped change your perspective, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.